Hi, I'm Eileen Bild. I'm with OTEL Talk. And today I have my dear friend Nancy Wiley again back on my show. We are doing a series for Fast Track to Enlightenment. So first I'm going to introduce Nancy again, and then we'll get started. So Nancy is a board certified orthodontist by trade in South Florida, and she was inspired to write Divine Trust, a practical guide to end your suffering and find your way home in the aftermath of the school tragedy in Parkland. Through the loss of one of her own patients and one of her staff's sisters, as well as the sorrow of so many around her, she felt this would be a path to healing for many. So this series that we're working on, we've done some episodes already, so I'm just going to run through those real quickly. Episode 1, we've talked about presence. Episode 2, our thoughts. Episode 3, positive possibilities. And today, episode 4, we are going to talk about why does enlightenment end suffering? And Buddha, he has the wisdom of saying that end of suffering is enlightenment. So, Nancy, I want to get your thoughts on so many people are suffering now, and we have the idea of enlightenment. So shed some light on the end of suffering through enlightenment.
Well, Eileen, it's great to be here, and thank your listeners for being here and being part of the change that's so needed on the planet right now. So probably your listeners might know about my backstory, but I like everyone, I suffered, and it was not my 6 advanced degrees. That did not help at all with ending suffering. I still suffered. I was still trapped in my mind. It was the concurrent path of learning how to meditate and the various meditations and types. And then I finally found a great teacher in 2008. Her name is Jetta Molly. She was fantastic. She took all those years, 45 years now of meditation to like a heightened level. And one day I realized I could endure everything. I no longer suffered. And what I didn't know, it happened so slowly, so incrementally. My mom died from Alzheimer's, and that was end of January 2018, and we had her funeral in February, and or her mass. She was cremated, so it was just a mass for her life. And then 5 days later, I'm working in my practice in Parkland, and the shooting happens. I have a mom standing next to me, and she exclaims, "There's an active shooter." When all was said and done, I lost a patient, and one of my staff lost her sister. But like as you introduced, the whole community was suffering. I too felt for about 5 days. I'm like, okay, I thought I was free from suffering, but I felt like, oh my gosh, this is taking me down. Now, why did that happen? It's because I was in the past or a fear of future. I was in the past of the event or fear of future of it happening again and what it meant and all of the negatives of that. Once I went into meditation, 5 days, it took me 5 days to make myself go into meditation and commune deeply with my direct connection to source, which I had already established by this point, and ask, why did this happen? And completely and utterly trust this energy that hosts everything. I think you have to almost be guided into this type or shown. You might be able to read about it, but I had a guide that took me through and helped me establish my own connection through. It's the state of trust in this higher presence. So this state of trust just melts everything. It soothes you. It's like a balm. It heals everything. It just, you know with every fiber of your being that no matter what happens or how bad it is, that it's meant to evolve us, to change us, to it, and it's perfectly imperfect the way it is, and it's unfolding perfectly. So if you know that, you no longer suffer. There's nothing that could happen to you that could make you suffer. So I'm just going to give a personal instance. Right now, I have a back issue. I write about it in the book. But do I let it take me down? No, I don't know the reason for it, but I trust it's there for a reason. What it is, I do not know. It's not being shown to me at this moment. But I have back twinges right now that can take my breath away. They're so bad. But do I let it make me suffer? No, I don't suffer. I trust that it's there for a reason. And once you trust, you take that mental out of it. So I want to go deeper. I know you want to say something though. I see you want to say something. Go ahead and say something. And then I want to take this because there's so many different levels as to explaining why enlightenment is the end of suffering.
Well, and I think my question may help you take that next step into deeper that you want to go into. What would you say is the definition of enlightenment in reference to the end of suffering?
So the definition of, so I, don't look this up. I'm just saying it off the cuff. Enlightenment means that you have come to terms with your body and your soul and your mind as a vehicle. So you have called in the light, you maybe have surrendered to it, and you let your body be the vehicle for it. And I say that that's enlightenment. It really means the enlightening of your cells or enlightening of your soul or your thought processes. So it's bringing the light in. So what's the light? To me, it's the creator, it's the source of all goodness, all love, all beauty, all things just blissful.
Would you say that it also includes letting go in order to have that trust?
Well, it's a surrender into it. I say trust and surrender. Actually, it's my teacher. She said surrender is trust's best buddy. So if you can trust this energy with every source of your being, and not in a faith-based trust, like you don't know, you have no connection yet, you're just basing it on my words versus basing it on a one-on-one communication you have back and forth with the creator, with the divine. Like my sister said, I told her I see the face of God every day. I wake up and she goes, no, you don't, or you'd be dead. I'm like, that's just something in the Bible. And I see the face of God every day. I surrender to it. I let my body be the vehicle for it. Then my mind, my thinking mind, my human mind becomes taken over by the mind of the creator. So I literally become and surrender and allow myself to be the vehicle for this to flow through. So do you see the difference? I'm no longer using my mind, my human mind. I'm using my surrender to the bigger mind. So it's thinking the thoughts for me. I've surrendered to it. Now, if it says, or if I had some delusional thing, go kill this person, would I do it? No, because that would be anything that asks you to do that is your ego. Because the creator would never ask you to kill anything because it holds all life in a cherished way. So that is just someone's delusional aspect that they're surrendered, because that would never happen. So I wanted to talk about different levels of enlightenment and ending of suffering, because I do think there's different levels, and the way I explain it can be very, I want to make it so it's so tangible to your listeners. So the first level is the left brain thinking. The average human, almost 98% of us now function in the past or the future using our mind, using our five senses, what we hear and see and smell, taste, and what's actually reproducible in the scientific world. So that's the reality. That's only one small little bit, because the other one, being present in the moment and surrendering to and tapping into the energy that's all that is, that's all knowing, all loving, all giving, tapping into that and being present in you have to do it in the present moment. Remember, past or future. This is in the present moment, connecting to the source. You're in the present moment. So you're not thinking about what happened in the past. You're not thinking about any heinous thing that happened in the past, or worried about your future. So let's just take someone who's suicidal, because you and I were talking about that. They're in the past or in the future in an anxiety. They're either saying like they're hopeless, they're not good, they're bad. They're in their past and they're projecting it onto their future, but they are not in the present moment. Once they breathe and come into the present moment and just breathe, because the breath is one of the doorways right into that present moment. And they connect to a source, or even to just blank space. Just breathe and watch yourself breathe. They'll have a respite, a haven from all their suicidal thoughts. That would change their physiology alone. So now let's talk about that. So the physiology of being in the mind, being in the sympathetic fight or flight and fear and all these negative emotions, they just wage war on the human body and bring it down. And they cause your DNA to shrivel up, to the helix actually gets tighter. Contrast it here. So we're going to a different level. So here, when we're in the present moment and we're connected to source and we're meditating, or we're watching our breath, or we're connected to full-blown bliss, it unwinds the DNA and more of your genetic expression can be expressed. More of your DNA material can be expressed. So also it's a different level. So now if I'm having more expression of my DNA and I'm in my parasympathetic mode and I'm in the present moment, and my body mechanics and all my neurotransmitters and all those different things that are flooding are beautiful and healthful and working towards, rejuvenation of the body versus tearing down of the body. That's all meant to be, sympathetic, and fight or flight is meant to be very short term. But what we do is we operate from that always, and that tears down the body. So you can take that to what we were talking about earlier. So now here into this present moment, our DNA is unwind. We can breathe. We're in the present moment. We start to have feelings and sensations of bliss and peace and beauty and love and trust and all of the exquisite sensations. Now, in that state, you bring something gentle, like something that you feel is not perfect into that state. It's obliterated. You can bring anything into that state. The death of a loved one, bring it into that state. You see from a higher viewpoint of maybe this is their way of exiting their body. Maybe their soul has lived their purpose here on life. It's their time to go back into the oneness. And once you see the oneness, it's not so scary to see the death of someone, because they go back into that oneness. They don't just die and never come back. They go there, and you can feel them there. So once you sense that and know that, and you can actually commune sometimes with, I've communed with lots of love. People got messages from them, and that they're in peace and bliss. You're not so, what's the big deal? And what would you rather have? This nastiness, this suffering, or this blissful acceptance, peace, and just everything is perfect the way it is. So that's why enlightenment is the end of suffering, because you have the tools, you have the knowledge, you have the connection, you have the maturity and the skill to be able to negate anything that you find as light. And then what happens? Now, here's the next level. Then that's the reality that's created. We don't realize that in humanity right now. We think that this happened to me. I had no control over it. It just happened. But it's not the way it works. So we can be, as a collective, creating mass shootings, a war in Ukraine with Russia, China taking over we can be creating that. And the more we focus on that, the more we're going to create it. The more we focus on this peace, this love, that is what we're going to create. But guess what? What do you think is more powerful? What do you think can influence more, the negative or the positive?
Oh, I always believe the positive can influence more.
It's infinitely
Absolutely.
more.
Yes.
It's infinitely more powerful. I don't know how, like, does it take, like, some people will say it takes one person like this to counteract millions like that. I don't know. But all I know is that reality changes. And me as a scientist, how can I say that? Well, quantum physics explains everything. Just by putting your attention on it, collapses the particle into, or the waveform into that particle. So when we focus on war, we focus on suicide, we focus on pain and suffering and mass shootings and political unrest and inflation. Guess what? We're making more of that. Anytime we watch a movie about that, watch the news about that, it's actually perpetuating more. But
I totally agree.
but okay, if we have these movies on goodness, on love and peace, or news, Good News Network, do you think it made it? No, because the human beings want to know that, want to suffer, and it's really just, we got to wake up and say that is not good for us. We've gone that way for thousands of years, and that is not the way. This is the way, and this is where we're going to be ushered in.
Well, thank you for sharing such a great detail, the different stages, and I had a lot of thoughts, as you know, running through my head of you know, if someone's watching this and saying to themselves, "Well, this all sounds great, but I've tried it and it's been a challenge," and or people watching and say, "Yes, I've done this and it's wonderful." So if someone has a challenge getting into that right brain space, that beautiful space of love and happiness and joy, I think it's maybe a fear of what's there or losing this that they know. So how would you direct someone to, or teach them or share with them how to make that shift from one to the other without too much resistance?
Okay, what if I said to you, it's all a choice? You either choose to suffer, or you choose there could be another way, and you open yourself to exploring that. Now, if I didn't find Jetta Molly, I would still be suffering, because I was meditating. I thought I was doing the right thing. I think I was thinning the veils through all my years of transcendental meditation. But it took someone who was certain of their light to navigate me to my certainty, to teach me that, to guide me to it. That's where this technology that we're on right now, with the right teacher, with the right people who are open to it. You have to be open and willing. Do you want to suffer? Is that how you want to live your life? Do you want to, let's just say, go back to the person who's suicidal. Do you really want to be suicidal and be in that kind of pain? That's painful. Or do you want to explore something else? It all starts with a choice. Yeah, I'd like to. Okay, so let's just say they say, I've tried it. Well, if you didn't stay on the path and you didn't commit to that, it does take work. It does take a commitment. It takes a choice and a commitment. I set the intention when I read Autobiography of a Yogi when I was like 20. I set the intention to become enlightened in this lifetime, in this incarnation. I didn't know how it was going to happen. And, for years, nothing happened, really. I just limped along. But finding the right guide and someone who is certain of that connection of their light, of your light, and that knows that every human being's built the same way, can do it if they just have the choice, if they choose it. And then it does take some discipline, because it doesn't happen right away. For me, it didn't. It started with little glimpses, but the little glimpses and the feeling it created in my body were enough positivity that kept me coming back. So you need at least someone who can make that difference, who's certain enough, who vibrates. It's a vibration. So you need someone who vibrates enough that you can kind of start to vibrate with them, at least while you're in their presence, at least while you're listening to them right now. that it changes your vibration slightly. You'll have a tug inside you. You will know. Your body tells you whether you're listening to truth or garbage. And
Right.
it'll also tell you if you're on the right track or the wrong track. So suicide or thoughts of suicide would be like a very negative inward motion where you're thinking of ending it all because you don't have hope. So what's the next step out of that? Maybe a little glimpse of hope, maybe a little vibration. Maybe you can open yourself up for 1 minute to feel the vibration and the truth of what I am saying so that you can actually vibrate a little differently. Does that make sense?
Yes, and you said two things. The first thing is those little glimpses you could feel that place. And I'm sure that instilled something in you where you wanted to feel that more and more often,
Yes.
which enabled you to become persistent in some ways and consistent to do it again, whatever it was that allowed you to have that experience. And then the second thing you said was intention. I believe intention is key to creating and allowing the process to move forward because you and I agree, thoughts are very powerful. And if not the most powerful,
they're creative.
Tool.
They create.
Yes.
Thoughts and words create.
Yes. So combine with all the things you've talked about up to this point with purposeful intention that I want to be in this space. I don't want to suffer. Choice, the choice that you mentioned. So for me, it would be that choice, that feeling that I want. What does it take for me to be in that space through that choice? What choices do I need to make? And what's the intention? And maybe shed some light on some things that people can say as part of their intention to help them begin to make a shift, or at least try to get to a place where they can feel that sweet spot that you're talking about.
Right. So, I mean, I love self-love. Just give yourself a little break. Why? How do you treat your best friend and treat yourself like your best friend? So we're so hard on ourselves. What if we could hold the worthiness that it's our birthright. It's our path to feel some self-love, some self-compassion. We're so hard on ourselves. And if you look back, it's usually how we were treated when we were little, or, our parents, how they treated themselves or how they treated us, or past life. I mean, a lot of things could be past life and we're just living it, things we can't explain. I've seen a lot of miracles happen about that. But just if you could open up to just breathe, take a few deep breaths, that helps right away. And then just, what if I could feel hope? Or if we're already up a little bit, what if, and you want to go one step higher on the vibratory level or the emotional scale. So what if I could feel beauty? What if I could feel peace? What if I could feel self-love? How would that feel? And if you can't, so here's a big lesson, is that when I first started on this path, I would have sensations in my body, but I had turned them off. Like I'd been turned them off and not trained to ignore them, flat out ignore them and power through everything. You had to do everything. And it's more of a passive allowing. What if I could just be? What if I could just be for a second? When I did meditations where I was just in the present moment with nothing, no intentions, nothing whatsoever, just in the present moment, in the quiet, I felt like I was on vacation. I felt like, oh my God, all my to-do list is gone. I'm just sitting here in a floating sensation that's exquisite. The more I sat there, the more exquisite it became, the more blissful I became. I was doing nothing. I was just there. That when you come out of it, you've actually changed your physiology and your reality. It's so cool. But again, if you don't know where to go, that's the problem. We don't have a handbook for this until, I do have a master class that teaches about this, that teaches us how to navigate through, but it's that's what I'm going to do. I'm here to be that guide for everyone that's listening, to go into this, to teach this, so that everybody has this bridge, everybody has this hope, everybody can have this connection. It's just, do you want it? Are you willing to try something new?
Well, and that's I think important to understand, is that, do you really want it? And is it really that important to you to get out of that suffering enough to take that next step? I call it the next step into that unknown future, without stressing and worrying about what is it going to be or what's it going to look like, but just experience it. Because I think life is a series of experiences, series of conversations, series of thoughts, and then we have an experience. So why not be the director of that experience through the choices and intention and the imagery of where you want to be?
Do you think it takes, well, I'm not going to say, do you think it takes courage? You'll have to be a bit of a badass to try this on and to do it. But that's what I'm here to be, the example, the guide for other people. It is a bit of a badass to experience life from this different way. And you have to find someone you can trust enough to take their words for it, to see their experience, that they're like your guide. They're your trail guide, taking you into this navigation, because it's an inner navigation. And that is the frontier is our inner. We have an inner frontier.
Well, it sounds like it's a form of exploration to discover how you can be in that space and in this suffering, and be good, be okay, be better than you could ever imagine. It sounds like through your experience, it was in steps and pieces, but along the way, that knowing and that knowledge built upon itself until at some point the shift. So maybe share with people, what was going on in your life when you felt that shift to that space where you are in that peace and calm and presence more often than not.
So back in 2008, when I started studying with Jetta, she had whole weeks on trusting this energy source. And at first I took her word for it. I reached out in faith, but once I established my own connection, that I could commune directly with this energy that hosts all things, and it communed back to me. We saw each other, and I realized that, I can't go into it here. To take my master class, you'll see the part we play in the divinity of this energy. But as I started to gain my trust, it would take anything that my mind was labeling bad, and just bring it into this centered perfection, like every hair aligned, or I saw it was already aligned, and I was just seeing it. I brought my energy back and put it on in trust on this energy that was exquisitely beautiful and all perfection. So once I started doing that, of course, when I would come out, when I first started, it would not last, because if we know anything about the thought patterns that we're entrenched, it takes some time to change our thought patterns or a way of being. But it's only been really since 2008 part-time that I've been doing it, and I've had such huge gain in 13 years versus all the other 40 years ahead of that I was doing this. There's nothing happening in my meditation. I don't know why I'm doing this. I feel rested and, peaceful while I'm doing it, but it didn't seem to make a difference in the outer world. In fact, actually, I felt like I was having more challenges. So as I was taught from Jetta, once I met Jetta, is like, yes, as you start to become enlightened, things will be brought up and say, this is her word. So I just think they're so brilliant. Come up from the basement. You put this in the basement. I think it's time for you to deal with it. Are you ready to deal with it now? And you either was, yes, let's obliterate it and look at it and accept it and it melts, or no, let's put it back down for another time. So then things started popping up and I started going, pachoo, 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 pachoo. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so great. I can clear all this negative stuff so fast with this technology and my newfound certainty. And I just went, pachoo, 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 pachoo. And so it's so much easier now than it's ever been before. And I'm so much stronger and more certain, and more light comes through me and I vibrate more. Last night, I wake up in the middle of the night a lot. It wakes me up and communes with me and teaches me. I don't know what it is about the 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock time frame, but it loves to teach me then. So it did this meditation, and I was just vibrating, like literally vibrating, like it takes your cells and takes them apart and gives them pure, and like you stuck your finger in an electric socket, but in a good way.
Don't encourage anybody to do that.
But in a good way. No,
Right.
It just felt like that. No, I'm not telling them to do that. It just felt like that kind of vibration. It was very cool. I love it when that happens, because I just feel like all my cells are being fed this beautiful energy.
Well, it causes you to feel lighter, like that light, right?
Yeah, enlightenment.
Yeah,
right.
And it's a good place to be, because you don't feel the weight of that heaviness that's part of all the negativity and that darkness that weighs you on the left side. And that makes me think about, we talk about the weight on our shoulders, and that is a reality. It's real. There is like an invisible weight. So what you're sharing today and what you teach is how to remove and eliminate that invisible weight on your shoulders, so that you can, sit tall, have that open chest, have that beauty from within to shine out. And I can see it on your face and your excitement when you talk about it. And, what could be more beautiful than a world with people walking around like that, right?
Yes. Well, this is what I think we're headed in. This is why we're having this outer world. It's causing us to ask ourselves, do we want a world like this, or do we want something different? And if we want something different, it's up to us to change it.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're all about.
Well, and that, you talked earlier about the TV and all the wars and everything going on. And recently for myself, I was listening to some shows and podcasts, and it didn't take very long before my brain just went, this is too much noise. It's noise. It's not productive. And I had to shut it all off and regroup, reground. And I think if you can help people just to recognize the importance of shutting that noise off in order to start guiding themselves down that path to enlightenment, the world would change dramatically.
Yeah. I agree 100% with what you're saying.
Yes. And so the message for today, your words of wisdom would be what?
Make the choice. The choice is yours. So what are you going to choose for your future, for our future? It's not just for yourself. It's for you, your family, your friends, your city, your country, your planet. And then even beyond that, the choices we're making now are affecting the universe, all of everything. So what what are we going to choose?
That's a great question. So if you would hold your book up, because I'm sure you have it present. We haven't done that yet. Divine Trust. And that can be found where?
This can be found on Amazon in the Kindle paperback and Audible version. And if you have people from, now it's also on Findaway Voices, so it's all over the whole planet.
Oh, good.
So your friends in Australia can get it on Findaway Voices in the Audible form.
Okay. And then where can they find you if they're interested in learning more about your workshops and classes and speaking engagements and all the good things that you offer?
So on trustthedivine.com. Yes. And for your listeners, if they buy the book and they go to divinetrustbook.com, there are 4 free gifts for them on that site. So
oh, that's good to know.
Yes. So they
Awesome.
a lot of free gifts. One of them's a meditation on trust. It's short. All the meditations are short. And also, if they do buy the book, there is a barcode in there where I don't want them reading because it's experiential, right? So if they're reading it, they're not able to come so much into the present moment. So I have audio files that are included in the book. So if they scan that barcode, they can download those. And yeah, if they want to work with me, I like groups. I'm starting to work with Parkland students September 1st. So I like groups because I feel that interaction, we actually can to grow at a much faster rate. Like if you can see the questions, like even the questions you're asking me or that I'm posing to your listeners and watchers, viewers, that actually starts the vibration. Okay, what if this? What if that? So when we learn from one another, we actually grow at a faster rate. And I just want to say one more thing. Anyone alive on the planet at this moment in time is here to be an agent of change. And people who are listening to this, who are attracted to this work, especially you have chosen to be on this path to hear these words, and we are making a difference. So let's do it together. Let's join forces, because the more we can do this and join forces, the faster and more powerful we become. We become that unstoppable force for light and for love.
Oh, I love that. Absolutely. So Nancy, always awesome to talk with you and share your knowledge, your wisdom, your insights, your experiences. And we will be continuing this series. And if you have not seen episode 1, 2, and 3, you can go into my YouTube and find them. And do you have them posted anywhere, Nancy?
They're all on my site.
Okay, so you can find them on her site as well.
On trustthedivine.com, there's a whole media site, a media page. So all of the series are on there so far.
Good. And then we have not discussed episode 5. So we will discuss that. And I will post it in the About section when I upload this talk into the YouTube. So if you are interested in learning what the next episode is going to be about, to keep an eye out, you can read what's going to be in the About section. And we look forward to hearing your comments, and feel free to ask questions for Nancy under the videos, and I'm sure she'll be happy to reach back out.
Thank you. And thank you, Eileen, and OTEL Universe and all your listeners. Have a blessed day, and remember, the choice is yours.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nancy. Bye.
Bye-bye.